Welcome to Foundations. We're the marriage architects, Marc and Heather. And whether you're newlyweds or celebrating decades together, we know there are still paths to discovering new dreams, vision, and purpose for your marriage. We can build a marriage blueprint for you. Just go to foundationsquiz.com or click the link in the show notes labeled quiz. God has incredible plans for your marriage. Join us today. Hey everyone, welcome to the Marriage Architects Podcast. And we've just been talking about what we're going to be talking about. And I just said, Liz, hold that thought because I want to get it live with all of us together. Life comes at us fast and hard, doesn't it? Sometimes it feels so forever. We're longing, we're waiting for something to happen. And then boom, the clock strikes another minute and our world has changed. Sometimes for the good or sometimes unexpected, and it can be a scary season. But you guys have a lot of stories with 4 girls, and we just want to bring Liz in on this conversation. We were talking with Marc, and I was sharing a little bit from my life, and John and I and our children. We have 2, and it's just, it never ends, right? It never ends. And so how does a marriage relationship navigate the unexpected? Philippians talks about a man can plan his course, but it is God's will. And my dad always said, Lord willing, we'll make a plan. My mom even had the license plate that was PLAN, but then it was always the Lord's will. So just encouraging everyone. It is good to see you guys, Marc and Liz. How are you guys doing today?
Awesome. Love hanging out. If you can't tell, if you're new to our podcast, welcome. But we have a lot of fun. We love doing this. And love doing this with Elizabeth as well, because she has a lot of insight and a lot to offer and makes it just extra special. So yes, be encouraged if you're in that season of change. I always just say run to it and embrace it, because it's coming and it's going to happen. So make it, an enjoyable time. And if you put God in the center of that, and if you let him fill kind of all those empty places, and all those unknowns, right? Fear dissipates and the unknown, becomes known and empowering, because now you have God in the mix, in the middle, on your side, like we know he is. And you can really face anything. So we're not sure where to start, because each kid, Heather, brought as they continue, bless their hearts, we love them, but they continue to bring their own dynamics. And when you thought it was kind of done, right? It's not done. So again, let me encourage you, if you're in some teenage years and you think, Lord, get me through this, I don't know, because we're kind of past the teenage years, we're into young adult, and it's frightening. It's
a whole different story.
They have their own ideas, their own thoughts. I'm trying to keep up. And all that's good, because that's what you want and it's what you raise. But it just looks different a lot of times. So anyways, we're here to talk about those early years and
some of those curveballs and some of those surprises that come about as a parent. We were just talking, there was this surprise with every kid. I mean, it didn't matter what was happening. The first was she had her whole upside down thing.
Being
preached. Yes.
Yeah. She was preached, and we didn't expect that until the day she was born. We didn't know. And that was a whole...
And supposedly she had been that way for a long time. Like we
had no idea.
And so, and when she came out, there was a lot of explaining that they did for me, because, she wouldn't lay flat. Like she was
folded in half.
Yeah. She
the first 2 weeks of her life.
Like
we'd go change her and she'd go boing, and bounce right back up. You couldn't lay down.
And they kept telling me it'll straighten out. Like, this is normal.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah. It was hilarious. And like they were literally, I held her legs down and to get a diaper on. You had to kind of maneuver and leverage things.
Was obviously life for a long time.
Yeah.
And we didn't know. So,
But it was fun. And if you know Emma, it's perfect. It's exactly, fitting for her personality, came out into the world ready to conquer the world but yet on her own terms. And it'll look different for her than it did for the other kids. So,
well, and I've seen her. She's beautiful. They all are. And she stands up very straight. She is not curved over.
So that's, yeah.
Luckily, they're right. And, by, 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, it was back to normal. We didn't have to
out.
wrestle her anymore to get a diaper on. Yes.
Yeah. And then, along comes number 2. And the day she was born, my mom was watching our oldest, and she was barely, not even 2 at the time. But she had a seizure with my mom babysitting her. So they rushed her to the hospital, and it was almost the exact same time I was giving birth to our second. And so we get a call, and it was one of those, Mark gets the call. I had just had the baby, minutes after having the baby. We get a call, and he hangs up.
Elizabeth's brother, who is an OB-GYN, and he's calling me. It's got the doctor voice on. And, Mark, can we
It
just
was
talk
not
first?
Liz's OB-GYN, by the way.
Oh, no.
No.
He just happens to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you just delivered your second baby.
Minutes before this.
Yeah.
And so he hangs up the phone. I didn't hear the conversation. I just thought maybe it was somebody saying, hey, congrats, whatever.
I thought that was going to be the call.
Yeah. He hung up, and he starts putting his shoes on. And I looked at him, where are you going? What? Put your shoes on. He goes, I gotta go. I said, you gotta go. Where do you gotta go? I just have
Nowhere.
You're not going anywhere. And he didn't really want to tell me, but he says, I gotta go.
I left you with your younger brother.
He hadn't gotten there yet.
He ain't gotten there yet.
So he says, well, I gotta go. I'm like, I am holding this, 5-minute-old baby, and he's leaving. What? So he told me what had happened, and I'm like, okay, you go, you take care of that. We'll divide and conquer here. I have this new thing, and you have
their
her.
hospital couldn't, they can't do anything unless the parent's there to kind of give them, direction and stuff like that. It was quite it was a national moment because my mother-in-law's on the phone with her best friend in Texas, and they were in Hawaii at the time on vacation, and she, they're talking and chatting it up, right? And Emma does her thing and passes out, eyes roll back and stuff.
And she's never had a seizure. She's walking straight at this point. This is the
on her own. Yeah. She just had a fever, and that's what caused the seizure and the spike.
Okay.
But she drops the phone on the ground while she's talking to her best friend. And she's screaming, Emma, Emma. And so I felt really bad for this beautiful lady and her husband, who are such dear friends. And they're, a million miles away, not having any idea what's going on. And now Judy's screaming at the phone saying, just pray, Jan.
Oh, no.
Hanged up.
And then I hung up the phone.
Hung up phone.
Just pray.
Yes. And so Jan's now crying, and her husband walks in, and what's going on? And she says, I don't know, but just pray, Pete. You have to just pray right now. And so they get on their knees, and they're praying and interceding, and, having no idea what's happening. So it was quite a chaotic scene. It was crazy.
Yeah, that was number 2 in her day of,
But that was after the quick delivery too, because Macy, like I think I told you, Heather, Macy was not... There was no long. I mean, Macy decided to come, and
she was almost born in the car.
Yeah.
That's at the same time your daughter was.
Yeah.
And I had the flu and was sick and all the stuff that comes with the flu. And
you had the flu, which is probably why Emma was sick and had the high fever.
Probably.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it's his fault.
So the baby's coming, and I'm thinking I'm about to throw up all over everybody. Gosh, this is really bad. And so I left the delivery room. I'm like, I got to go get a bathroom because I can't throw up on my wife while she's giving birth.
That would be bad.
It'd be bad. That'd be a memory.
So yeah, he almost missed it.
So yeah, so I it was bad. It was total, but that was after, 100 miles an hour down, the main road to get to the hospital because it wasn't, it was quick. It's always been exciting around here.
Yes.
Always.
Curveball.
Yeah.
So, and then, number 3 was a huge surprise because number 2 was only 3 months old, and here we are, number 3's on the way. And so that was, whoa, what? Okay, here we go, God. How do we figure this one out? We were just getting used to having 2.
Wow.
And then 3, and he didn't, necessarily want any more after 3 because we were
No.
in over our heads, especially all so
Even
close.
though the premarital agreement, early newlywed years
didn't
was
matter.
let's have
Right
4, right?
Yeah,
4.
I'm all about the even numbers. I was like, I can't just do 3. It's either
Nope.
2 or 4 or, more. But
Sure.
On a
this,
previous podcast, if people want to go listen to that story, but Liz was working, and I'll just cut it short, but just even getting them home and out of the car, everything was a challenge. It's just, and winter added to that. And it just was, I was exhausted. I was tired and done. And Liz is like, you can't be done. We talked about this.
Yeah.
I'm like, what did we, like every
What's
good
that
guy.
like though for you, Liz? When you think about your kind of as a young mom with these babies and hopes and dreams and expectations and a busy lifestyle, busy husband, he's working full time at the bank. You're at church part time. Anything? I mean, raising 3 little ones.
well, and it was always something that I'm like, well, 3 wasn't an option. I always wanted 4, and we were going to have 4 kids, and we had 1, 2, 3 right in a row. And, it was just the next thing.
Sure.
But
Sure.
yeah. So he kind of was like, no,
Nope.
put the brakes on that. And he was like,
We had the
And that-
conversation. Like it was, I mean, I
Is that
remember.
a tense conversation? Like a good?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
But again, it wasn't fair to Liz at all because it was like my decision, and then that's just the way it was going to be, and that's totally the human man, head of the household. Whatever scripture you want to pull out, I was using it. Like this is why, and it was totally wrong because it was coming out of a place of fear and unknown and
So that's the Lord.
tired, which are all valid and
it's all legitimate.
legit,
Yeah.
but we weren't talking about it at that point. at all.
No.
She goes,
Mm.
the famous quote was, she's like, well, we talked about this. I'm like, I don't care. I mean,
Yeah.
things changed. And that was before we had, 3 little girls all saying, I said, we're good. We don't need any more kids. She said, no, we talked about this. You wanted 4 kids. And I'm like, I changed my mind. I mean, but Liz in her kind of just still calm way, she knew what we talked about. She had that confidence and understanding of who God created her to be. And really at that point, a better understanding of who God created me to be than even I did.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
I think that can
That's what we
speak to
taught.
women today to let them know that our husbands at times can be very strong and maybe not always sensitive to the Lord's leading for a lot of reasons, not because they're awful at all, but because of fear can block perspective and, our strengths can block perspective. And as a guy leading a family, it's like, no, I just assume if I don't want it, then God doesn't want it.
right.
But why,
Well, and it was
conversation.
manipulative too. I mean, it was not,
Absolutely.
it wasn't a good, there was no spiritual
Yeah.
uh,
Of the-
guideline there at all. Cause I was just, manipulating that head of household thing and my own desires. And
I think of what God gives women as the emotional, probably strength-based part of the marriage. Not always at all, but obviously we do lead differently and than man because we're supposed to. We're not supposed to be the same. And that emotional component that we can bring in, it's why Mary pondered these things in her heart.
right.
She had an unbelievable responsibility, and yet God said, I'm doing it. It's done. It's already, I have worked. and how he led her in that season. Liz, I see that sweet presence of how you ponder things, and in the marriage dynamic of you and Mark and the gifts that you both bring to the table. What was that like for you? Fill us in on some of your parts.
It was like, well, I know how what God's told me, and so I'm just gonna stick with that. I'm just gonna.
Did you have peace, or were you stressed out?
Yeah. Oh,
Unbelievable. And
yeah.
Unbelievable. What?
tell you-
Peace or stress for Liz?
No, just complete peace
You did.
as knowing that, well, this is what God said, so I'm just going to leave it in his hands. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, then okay, fine. But it's one of those things where that's kind of just where my heart is, and my mind always goes to, well, God will do it. If it's supposed to happen, God will do it.
But that's powerful. So if you're listening to this, and if you're a woman going, I don't have a voice, or I don't have, leverage or power, you do. You absolutely do. If you know who God's called you to be and what to wield. So what Liz just described there, that peace and that assuredness, that cut like a sword for me. That was, she didn't have to scream and make her voice known and be all loud. The confidence that was there, that's what I married. That's what I wanted.
And a bit of stubborn. That's just
a lot of stubborn. But that's okay, because that's how God made you to be.
Yes.
Who I am. Yeah.
But it spoke, Heather, to me in the sense that, hey, this is what you wanted. You wanted Liz, and I gave her to you. Now, work within that and quit being stubborn yourself, and pray about this and hear from God. I hadn't even done that. We have this joke, she was like, well, I said, I don't, want any more kids, and I don't care if we talked about it, babe. I was trying to make light of it. I said, I would have told you anything you wanted to hear before we got married. Sure. You want 10 kids? Sure. She said, well, you're not that kind of guy. And I'm like, well, yes, I am. And we all are. And that part is true. We're guys are kind of selfish and a little superficial. And, I was thinking, sure, what do you want? I'll give you the world. Let's just marry me,
Yeah.
But she was like, no. And the words that she said, she says, you're not that. That's not who God created you to be. You're not that kind of a guy.
So she called you up.
Totally.
And out of the pit of whether it was selfishness or
if I can't do this is too much, and
can't afford this, and we've been blessed. I had all the spiritual angles. Look how blessed we are, babe. We've got 3 beautiful daughters, and they're all healthy. Let's call it good. So, but it was a phenomenal time for us to learn and grow. Because now I think, oh my gosh, what if we would have stopped there? It wouldn't be complete, and it wouldn't have been God's will and his design. So,
Liz, how did God sustain you in that time through 2 miscarriages and that desire for another baby? Where do you know that you could speak to other women who might be in that place today?
Well, I get emotional talking about it every time.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because now Heather can cry now too. She feels good that y'all can cry together.
Look out, Mark, you're next.
Well, because I couldn't look to him.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a time of feeling kind of alone, and really learning how to rely on the Lord.
Yeah.
And not necessarily on our relationship.
Yeah.
It was a time where I had to get closer to the Lord and really build that trust in him rather than just relying on us.
Yeah.
And that's where God taught me, more than anything, is to not look here for the answers or look to our relationship, but look to the Lord, and really rely on him for that peace and that understanding and the direction, because his direction wasn't the same as mine. So,
Yeah.
That's where I said earlier, Heather, that right there is what you captured, was that void.
Mhm.
That was it. I mean, it still impacts her. Two reasons. It's because it was that real, for us, but also you can see what God did.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
and the healing and the growth that happened. So
yeah, because we think we had it all figured out. We had 3 kids, bam, 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 just like that. And then all of a sudden this, one, and then lost another. And then in the division in the relationship, I mean, all of that was,
it was abandonment. It wasn't purposeful, like
No.
it was, and it wasn't malicious. I didn't set out on that, but I was so consumed with kind of my own thoughts and and my own needs and worries, and instead of turning those over to God or confiding in Elizabeth, I can do this, I can fix this, and my sheer will, it will be 3 kids, no more. So that's abandonment in the sense of I wasn't in tune, you know, and like we talked about on the other podcast, that in fairness, I was trying to process those miscarriages as well, but in a very different way, just in a completely different way. And I don't know what kind of resources are out there, for men in that sense, if there are or not, but there's certainly, I don't remember any, well, I don't even know that we told people or talked about it.
a little bit, but there's certainly not even a whole lot of resources for women either.
Yeah.
It's just not a thing that many people talk about.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it happens. And then people move on.
Yeah. And we talked about that. For me, it was a very kind of scientific approach of just, this is how God meant it to be. This is your body, and it's fine. This is really a better outcome than carrying it full term. All those kind of
Logic driven, left brain.
that are empty. I mean, it's true, but it's empty, right? It doesn't necessarily answer all those questions. And so
it really did just force me to just look to the Lord and to pray about what the next plan was, what the next part of our journey was going to be, and to pray for him and to pray for our relationship. Because I could see that it wasn't, we were not moving in the same direction. We didn't have the same blueprint in front of us.
Yeah.
But how did we get there? It was by nothing that he did or I did, but it was individually we went to the Lord.
I love that. I don't know if you intentionally did that, but that whole, it wasn't the same blueprint, because we talk about that, right? We're the marriage architects, and we talk about building that successful blueprint. And Liz and I had, and it included 4 children.
Mhm.
And then I was tearing it up. Basically, I got my own blueprint, and that doesn't work, right? That was because it wasn't together anymore.
Yeah.
It goes back so much to Psalm 127, unless the Lord builds a house, a man or woman laboreth in vain.
Yeah.
And you guys have both so beautifully spoken into couples today. And I think if anybody needs this encouragement, they're going to leave with that hope that God is with them, that Jesus and the peace that can pass understanding of knowing and figuring things out from that logic brain, left brain, when things don't make sense, when what you agreed upon is a different plan from the other spouse. You guys are both believers. You love Jesus. You're involved with the church. And yet this great burden and season of your marriage was a huge testimony to the power of God individually in your lives, and how he then brought you together for a great, intimacy together in him. Beautiful process of sharing God. Liz, so many women are carrying that, as you know. You work with women all the time and see women that you disciple. And I know your words are going to be a healing balm. and Mark, your words into men's lives, that they have to, unless the Lord builds a house, they don't have to take that pressure on. Right. I don't even think guys realize they're afraid because they can just get mad or they can just work hard and keep going. And so they don't, the wives are like, something's weird. We're not connected. And they're like, I'm connected. I'm here. I'm doing the thing. We're eating dinner. I'm bringing home the paycheck, or I'm serving at church. And they think it's okay. But there is an invisible heart disconnection. Yeah. That is why we do what we do. For marriage.
Well, the intimacy you touched on, right, was completely fractured. I mean, it was completely fractured, which is what Satan wants. I mean, that, no shock, right? Because that's what he wants. Everything about that fourth child, became laborious and something that you just had to do and show up for. And that's because the connection was missing. And so, I think about just, what it took. And there's couples that have gone through way more, right? If you think about the loss of a child, or if you think about, certainly infertility issues that maybe have gone on for years. I mean, this doesn't compare to that, but what I would tell people is it doesn't matter, right? This is ours and our story, and you can't compare it to yours. And because Satan doesn't, he's going to take whatever avenue, whatever opportunity there is to divide. And that's why, I tell couples all the time, don't rank these stories. Don't, compare yours. It's going to be different. Satan's going to use whatever he can, whatever, tools and resources are, because he wants to divide. And if he can, steal your voice. And this is what he used, for us in that sense. Thankfully we
were blessed
we
with
listen.
four, shortly after that. And then we were, this is our family,
Yeah, it felt complete. Yeah, totally. So, and to me, it was such, just like you saw Elizabeth's reaction and how real it was. It was yesterday. That speaks again to those. I don't want people to lose that, especially if you're listening and you can't kind of see Liz's reaction, but that speaks to two sides of this story. It speaks to the pain that was there, and I participated in that pain without a doubt, unknowingly, and certainly not wanting to, but just because I was changing the blueprint. I was changing the plan. And I cast a new vision without her input at all. But also the redemption and the healing that took place. Those tears come just as much from that as far as what God did, because she knew enough to know he needs prayer and he needs support. And I'm not going to abandon him in that time, right? I'm going to double down. I'm going to pray for him, and I'm going to help make this a story that, lasts for the ages and eternity. And
doesn't he get the glory? He
absolutely
gets the glory.
So I would encourage people in that, because there's two sides to that, and you can have that same thing.
Yeah.
In any situation.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It is there for all of us. And that's why we are passionate about what we do, how we do it, to just encourage you to seek God for yourself. In the Garden of Gethsemane, the Lord went with his group of people to the garden. There was a lot of them together to pray that night, while Judas was off behind the scenes, wheeling and dealing for death. And the enemy thought he won. And then Jesus took Peter, James, and John a little further. And I think that reminds me of marriage. We go a little further with those closest to us.
Right.
Where we go to pray, where your mom was praying with her beloved friend in Hawaii, over the phone. But yet we all have to go a little further. There's that place, then Jesus went a little further, where he prayed and he prayed and he told his peeps, he's like, stay awake. And they couldn't, and they disappointed him. So our spouses can disappoint us. They can not always understand the depth of the severity of that our own soul is going through at the time, that God is but to not demand from your spouse to figure you out.
Right.
Because God really does, and he has taken me in that journey too. Heather, I want just you. You and John are my partnership. But there is a place that I go and you go, and I think that's why Deuteronomy 6, and that's what we're building the summer series on, is the Shema. Love the Lord God with all your whole heart, all your soul, and all your strength. Then we can love each other from that point. But he's got places to take you individually, together in your marriage, and then as a group, as we are all in the body of Christ. So God bless you guys. Let us know how this has ministered to you. Our emails are in our website at themarriagearchitects.co. We would love to hear how this has blessed you. We have a Facebook. You can go on our Facebook and leave us a message at The Marriage Architects. So we would love to hear what God is doing from these podcasts, how God is ministering to you, how you are seeing encouragement and the Word of God open up for your own life. Closing thoughts, Mark and Elizabeth?
You
Go.
first.
No, I mean, it's just we started off talking about all the curveballs and the surprises, and they're going to happen. And I mean, regardless of whether you have one child or 18, there's going to be something along the way.
18 children.
So
I'm
and
starting
they never end. So the real takeaway is to just rely not necessarily on your spouse, but to rely on the Lord first of all, first and number one. And that's where he'll draw you two closer together when you're with him first. Yeah.
Well, the story behind the 18 children is true. So, because we were driving in Philadelphia and the lottery was, I don't know, $58 billion, some just ridiculous number. And I said, babe, we should stop and play. What would you do? She said, oh, I'd have more kids. I mean, she didn't even hesitate, Heather.
It was the first thought. If I had endless amounts of money, I'd
almost wrecked the car.
Kids, I would just keep having children. I love
you almost wrecked the car.
I almost wrecked the car. I'm like, okay, well, forget financial security and winning $58 million. It's not happening. No way. So yeah, I would just say, to everybody that's out there is, again, embrace it, embrace that change and run to it. And I am sure there is counselors and therapists out there that will disagree with all of it. But my point being is, if we just show up and let God do his thing, all of it can be handled in an instant, right? And you don't need years of therapy or you don't need to go through that kind of lifelong or even 6 months worth of struggle. Once I kind of turned the fear and the questions and the doubt and the need, really there was a need there over to God, man, he showed up and it was, I can remember it like it was yesterday. It was very real. And luckily changed, the story for us because of the narrative. I don't know that we would have gotten a divorce or whatever, but we would have been distant. And for how long, or would that distance had grown, who knows? And that, of course, is devastating. We know for a lot of marriages, because who wants to live life like that? Mm-hmm. So run to it, embrace it. Don't be afraid of it. God's going to meet you exactly where you're at. And that's the good news, totally the good news. Thank you again for joining us on this journey. And I call it a journey strategically because Liz and I are still growing and learning, and Heather and John are still learning and growing. Mm-hmm. And even as I say that, that's exciting because I don't know what tomorrow's going to look like. And I don't know, what that future holds, but I know that he's given me a vision. He's given me dreams. He's given me a purpose, and we can continue to plan for that. And he's going to show up and he's going to guide us and direct us. And he wants nothing but good and for our lives. And now, for our kids' lives. And Heather, you guys got the grandbaby as well. So, it just is going to grow and deepen your relationship. And I appreciate the fact that you listen to what we have to say, and I hope it's encouraging. Head to themarriagearchitects.co, and there's more material out there. Reach out to us. We're happy to help in any way. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on the Heal Your Christian Marriage podcast. We pray today's episode has brought you closer to God's vision for your marriage, giving you practical tools to move forward in restoration and purpose.
If you'd like to learn more about our mission or explore our resources, I would like to invite you to come and listen to our free class, How to Heal Your Broken Marriage. And we talk about what we see as the real reasons why Christian marriages falter or fail completely, and what shifts you can make to change your marriage to a relationship that stands the test of time.
So no matter how difficult things might seem right now, you're going to learn how to ignite passion and discover intimacy, reimagine a vision for your marriage, and establish a new purpose, one that's built on your strengths and is God-focused.
And lastly, we'll talk about specific ways that we can connect and address the problems that you're having in your marriage and what we might be able to do to help you. If you would like to take us up on this, go to themarriagearchitects.co. That's themarriagearchitects.co. It's totally free. Until next time. Thanks for joining us at Foundations. Remember to take our quiz for your free marriage blueprint by clicking the link in the show notes. You can also check out our website at foundationsquiz.com.